As children, we dream. We dream of a world that is constantly changing. We dream of innovation, and we look up to those who have changed our world for the better. We draw inspiration from those around us, our families, our teachers, our heroes. We dream of how we can change our world, how we can follow in the legacy of those who came before us. It's been said that today's youth are tomorrow's leaders, tomorrow's innovators and inventors. They are our future. And at Bright House Networks, we dream of a future with new opportunity, rising industry, and an economy that will not only survive, but thrive into the future. We are proud to present Bright Ideas Stem from Today's Youth, the culmination of a multi-state competition where students dream up the coolest inventions to make their own life, community, or even world more awesome, and show how STEM, that's science, technology, engineering, and math, can bring their idea to life. Bright House Networks is committed to building our local economies while fostering leadership experiences for our youth as they create ideas for emerging technologies to change the world as we know it, one bright idea at a time. Live from Orlando, Florida, Bright Ideas stem from today's youth. After months of preparation and research, 5 finalists from across the country presented their bright ideas in front of our panel of judges.
Leo Cloutier is the Senior Vice President of Strategy and Business Development for Bright House Networks. He has over 20 years of experience in the telecommunications industry and is dedicated to creating new ideas that become reality. Scott Ferris is the CEO of Aerosonics Inc., which designs and produces revolutionary medical treatment equipment. He has 2 decades of operating, venture financing, and commercialization of new products. Leslie Hillema is the VP of the Orlando Center of the Florida Institute of Technology. Her experiences range from global product development to classified government battlefield software. She's a true expert. Mitchell Lasky has a career of success. He's held senior executive management and leadership positions for public and private companies for over 30 years, developing companies in healthcare, manufacturing, security, social media, banking, and transportation.
Welcome to Bright Ideas Stem from Today's Youth, presented by Bright House Networks, a TV show where some of the best and brightest minds from the Bright House markets throughout the country bring their ideas to Orlando, Florida, to see if they have what it takes to advance on to the next level.
First off is Javier Almeida from Tampa, Florida. Javier has developed an app that will make your next trip to the grocery store a lot easier.
Let's see a show of hands. Have any of you felt stressed out, annoyed, or even confused in a grocery store? Pretty much everyone. So, when I was younger, I went grocery shopping a lot with my mom, and I noticed that she felt all of these things. So I decided it's time for a change, and I'll Find It was my solution. It's an application that will help you shop faster and smarter. No more wandering, and will eliminate needless back and forth. Now, the average time spent searching in a grocery store is 41 minutes, and that's twice a week. I'm hoping to cut that in half. So today, I'll talk about some of the different features that I wanted to be more creative about. Originally, it was just a GPS navigation, but it turned into so much more. Next, I'll give you a little snippet of how it's useful to the different markets and how this is possible, and then I'll end with where I see it going in the future. So features. It's an app that allows you to go throughout the store in the fastest manner possible, so it won't be taking you back and forth. After that, I figured not everyone wants to use a GPS, so I provided a list option where it organizes it in the same manner, but you can simply read it off the list. It'll also memorize some of your favorite lists so you can reuse them over and over again or for specific stores. This list option also allows your whole family to put in anything they want anytime they want. So there's not a million text messages or lists flying about. So next, this app will also map your frozen and dairy products last, which is hugely important because they won't have a time to melt or develop harmful bacteria. I also wanted to incorporate a coupon and sale item pop-up system so that the consumer has many opportunities to save money. And then next comes the parental lock, which is a personal favorite. It's it's an application where the parent can simply lock in certain food items so their little kids don't have a chance to delete the good stuff like broccoli or Brussels sprouts. I also incorporated statistic memory so you can look at your own statistics, what you spend the most money on, so you can cut down and save. And lastly, I thought of suggestions based on your current likes and buys. So there are 3 different client bases that I figured I would cover. There's, of course, the consumer market, which is, through research, I found out it's 32 million Americans every single day are in a grocery store, just a grocery store, and just in America. So it's a huge market that I can help save time and money and general sanity. There's also thousands of stores that, just for grocery stores, of course, but this can expand beyond that, and thousands of different product manufacturers. So how is this useful? Of course, it saves time, and it'll save money through these coupon sale items and pop-ups. But for the stores, the stores will also like the coupon sale item pop-ups because they can advertise straight to the consumer right in front of their phone, because we're all on our phones all the time. So the stores and product companies will also be able to save money through a reduction in material advertisements. So paper advertisements, ink advertisements that are posted all over the store. By going electronic, they'll save a lot of money. And of course, consumer and family behavior is tracked throughout the store, giving the stores a better knowledge of how to set up the layout. So how is this possible? Well, every single store has a map for the employees personally to use so that they know where to put each product. So I will use these schematics and simply upload them into the application, which can be accessed using Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. And these technologies like GPS, mapping, store locators, and more already exist. For example, Google Maps, or I even went to Target and I asked the employee to find me this thing, and they typed it in their computer and found it. So now, this is a free app for all consumers, so people usually ask me, how do I get paid? Well, it'll be through either coupon exposure or by a transaction-based commission. And then there's also the data analytic revenue, which is probably one of the more important parts because it helps the stores so much. I recently talked to Valpak, and they bought data from Nielsen for millions of dollars. And this data included information on who the people were, their gender, their age, and what their families were like. So I'll not only have this data, but also buying behavior data, what these people spend the most money on and buy the most. And this app, of course, doesn't just end at grocery stores. It can expand to superstores like Target or Walmart. It can expand to hardware stores, Ace Hardware, Home Depot, craft stores like Joann Fabrics or Hobby Lobby, amusement parks even like Disney World or Busch Gardens because they're so big and complicated, and of course European supermarkets and hypermarkets like Delhaize America or just Delhaize Europe or Daye. So next time you find yourselves wandering the grocery store, I hope you have the chance to say, don't worry, I'll find it.
One thing that would be fun is the bracelet you could put on your kids, and if they get lost in the store, you can find them on the map. Or maybe not.
I'll freely admit to being in aisle 11, then back in 2, and then back in 9, and then back in 4. So this really resonates with me. Getting the map data from the stores, how will you go about that? And if you have trouble there, have you thought of other things like crowdsourcing or incenting your users to help you, take pictures or do something? Or
yeah, definitely. I know that these stores, of course, they might not want to give up their map data, but they have to know that it's not the maps that are valuable, it's what they're buying in the store that's valuable, and I'm not going to give that to other people. So anyone can walk into a store and just draw their own map, but that's all I'll use in the application. And then also, I'm also saving them a lot of money on the paper, and I'm giving them a new crowd with all the coupons.
So one thing, have you thought about in your analysis partnering perhaps with some of the consumer products companies as well? I know The folks that manufacture the products on the store shelves may want me to find their product before my competitor's product.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of actually partnering with them, so that's a really good idea, but I have thought of like, you know, they can obviously add in coupons or pop-ups as well. Thank you.
I have one additional function that I think you might want to add is sending somebody to the store for you. That's one of the things I don't like to do, you know. So seriously, I really liked your ideas about monetization. I liked your ideas about capturing behavior and be able to, you know, showcase the products properly. How do you protect yourself against competitors coming into the space and trying to copy what you're doing?
I've seen similar things, and what they've been doing so far is they've only been targeting the retailers. And so mine is just simply going to be the most consumer-friendly and help you get through the fastest and save the most money.
Well, that's pretty important to get through the store as fast as you
Yeah.
can. Great job.
I was really excited, but also a little bit nervous. And when I saw all those people smiling and laughing, it made me a little bit more at ease because, you know, it just showed that I could really connect with them and the judges.
Second up, from Indianapolis, Indiana, is Victor Shao and Chris Skalnick. Victor and Chris have an idea for an antibiotic that could make your food cleaner and safer.
Good evening, I'm Chris.
And I'm Victor.
And our idea is to create a new type of antibiotic that is harder to develop resistance against, to better protect our food.
So, how do you guys clean your fresh produce? Well, you probably wash it with water before you eat it and refrigerate it for storage. You probably think that's good enough, but that is simply not the case. You might get a cantaloupe like this one in the picture above. It looks perfectly clean and ready to eat. But in all reality, bacteria can still linger on it and infect you.
That's what the mother of a 3-year-old discovered in 2001 when she fed cantaloupe to her daughter. Her daughter loved cantaloupe. In fact, it was one of the few foods that she would eat. However, on this occasion, that cantaloupe was tainted with salmonella. Her daughter's life hung in the balance for weeks as she suffered from blood poisoning, bloody diarrhea, excruciating stomach cramps, and 104-degree fever. She eventually recovered enough to return home, but not before suffering the debilitating effects of reactive arthritis, effects that still plague her today. This would be bad enough if it were a unique incident, but rather there were 600 million incidents of foodborne illness in 2010. That was over 8% of the world's population. For the modern day and age, these numbers are unacceptable.
So you might ask, how is that possible? How can bacteria survive on the surface of a fruit even after rigorous processing, cleaning, washing, and antibiotics? Well, the answer lies in a type of antibiotic resistance. So when certain bacteria congregate on the surface of a fruit, they will form a colony, and after forming this colony, they will form a shield that protects them from being able to be washed off and cleaned and killed by antibiotics.
When these structures come together on a surface, they form a film called a biofilm. This can form on produce to protect against washing, but it can also form inside the body, making treatment very difficult.
While this is a relatively new area of research, we do know one key fact about biofilms, is that communication is key. The communication that is used within the biofilm is called quorum sensing. It has been found that an extract in garlic called ahuin can disrupt this quorum sensing and therefore disperse biofilms in mammalian systems. We hope to soon test this in the future in our lab on biofilms that are formed on produce. So the goal of our research is to identify the compound that is disrupting the communication so you will not have to worry about the smell or the taste of garlic on your fresh fruit.
A biofilm is like a castle, and its defenses are just as robust. Rather than throwing ourselves against the walls in vain like traditional antibiotics, our approach is more like the Trojan horse. It's a smarter, more effective approach. So now let's take a few moments to examine the difference between a traditional antibiotic and our antibiotic, because just because they're both antibiotics doesn't mean that they're the same thing. Firstly, a traditional antibiotic attacks bacteria directly. Here you can see the purple shapes puncturing and attacking an individual bacterium. However, with any type of antibiotic, you might have resistance, like the one in red, which is impervious to the antibiotic's attack. Then, in the next generation, because it has a competitive advantage, it will dominate the generation. However, with our product, we intercept the communication, the messages being sent between the bacteria. Shown here is the purple squares blocking and trapping those green triangles. However, in the same way as before, we have a resistant signaling molecule, one that we can't block. However, because there aren't any other bacteria using that same new molecule, it doesn't have anyone to talk to. And so the next generation is still largely susceptible to our product. This is how we delay the development of antibiotic resistance.
So our product will be a liquid spray that can be applied at all levels from the farm to the table. That means farmers will be able to apply this in place of traditional antibiotics, which promote resistance. So also food producers themselves can apply this in their markets to protect their consumers. And consumers themselves can also apply this to protect themselves. I hope you all are as excited about our product as we are. It will appeal to a large and growing market that is mostly free of competition. With the world's growing population and an increase on healthier eating, the demand for fresh produce will skyrocket, and in effect, so will our product. Companies will also be very eager to buy our product to prevent the costly recalls that often follow disease outbreaks in food. For example, in 2006, an E. coli outbreak in spinach cost the company almost $350 million. And that is just one company, and that is not even including all the lawsuits and fines that they faced. Our product will only cost around $15,000 to determine the formula needed for our product. But on the flip side, and more importantly, our product protects people from having to suffer through what that little girl had to suffer and still endures to this day. The prevention of human suffering and the saving of human lives are things you cannot put a price tag on. We hope that you will support us and bring our life-saving product to our society in the very near future. Thank you.
All right, so how do you feel? That was a complex presentation that you presented in a very simple way. I'm very impressed. So tell me, whose idea was this? Is this something that you all developed yourself?
Well, this was an interesting confluence of events because I was inspired by an article that approached something similar to this, but rather than using communication, it was attacking the shared resources of a colony. And so I started thinking about it, but then it turned out that Victor, over the summer when we came together to work on this project, had actually been working in a laboratory on these same biofilms, and so it just seemed natural.
So you're the scientist as well, so that's impressive.
Well, you guys are really working to solve a global problem, so I really hope you continue this work. And I like the fact that ahoine has been shown to be very effective in medical applications as an antimicrobial, so you're really building on some significant research. I know they're looking at it for cancer, cystic fibrosis, so it's very extremely effective as an antimicrobial, antivirus, anti-inflammatory. In medical applications, it requires quite a bit of ahoine to be effective as a consumer product. I would like to know, how do you suspect you will gather enough of this extract? Are there synthetics, or is there mass manufacturing, or how would you assume to get that much quantity for a food product?
Well, we're not at this stage yet, but we do know that we will not be doing anything synthetic because our product will be 100% organic.
I'm so impressed that you're attacking a real hard scientific problem and you're still in high school. It's just amazingly impressive. I think it's great. One of the things you talked about was if you pursue this proposal, you would work on how to prove the right formula and how to prove that it's efficient and effective. Talk a little bit about your approach there. How would you go at that?
So we already have a candidate substance, and based on the research that we've done thus far, we have a model organism. We can't work with the actual organisms that might be causing disease, but we have a model, and we've shown that it does form biofilms the way we would expect. And so the next step for us would be to add our compound, add ahoine, and see what happens.
So when I come to these events, I hope to get educated. Both of you provided a significant amount of education for me, and I really applaud you for that. It's great.
I'm so thankful for Bright House for giving me and my partner this opportunity to come to Orlando and give us this platform to speak on, introduce our idea to the judges.
It's a problem that affects everyone. It affects everyone who wants to eat.
Third is Hannah Verma from Orlando, Florida. Hannah's new soap product would improve medical sanitation for both doctors and patients.
Hi everyone, my name is Hannah Verma and I'm a junior from Lake Highland Prep in Orlando, Florida. So how many of us absolutely dread going to the hospital or seeing our doctor? For most of us, the fear lies within needles or pain or the infamous white coat. But what's even scarier and what most people don't know about are the germs lurking on your doctor's hands. Last summer, I had the opportunity to shadow at a local infection control at a local hospital. And what I found was really shocking. I noticed that most doctors actually don't wash their hands from patient to patient. And this is disturbing enough at one hospital, but it's in fact part of a nationwide trend. Across the country, less than half of all the hospital employees actually sanitize regularly. And this has enormous impacts. There are more than 2 million cases of hospital-acquired infections across the US last year. And this leads to trauma or even death for the patients. But not only that, it has a huge financial strain on our country. Last year, just for one hospital, it lost $2 million from MRSA cases that are caused by non-compliance with hand hygiene. That's a huge number, but that's just MRSA. That is a single organism within a single hospital. If you account for the dozens of other organisms within that hospital, the real cost grows exponentially. A major factor in this lack of hand washing is the current hand sanitizer dispensers. That's because they use foam. The issue with foam is that it takes a long time to dry. So for 45 seconds to anywhere over a minute, doctors have to rub and rub and rub and rub. And in an emergency situation, can you imagine how precious that minute would be? Then they have to wait for that foam to dry. But if it isn't dry, when a doctor tries to put on a glove, they just end up ripping the glove, causing room for more bacteria to slip in. Furthermore, a nurse can typically expect to enter about 20 rooms per day. So that means that she has to sanitize about 40 times. So by the end of the day, her hands are chapped and dry. This isn't just their experience, I experienced it too. As an emergency department ambassador at another local hospital, I too have to follow the protocol, and that's why I was inspired to create my device. This is where the Verma Hygiene Mister comes into play. So all you have to do is place your hands inside the device, allow it to spray you from the top and bottom with a sanitizer mist and a moisturizing mist, and you emerge clean and moisturized. The mist is very beneficial because not only does it have an instantaneous drying time, meaning there's no rubbing or effort involved, but it also has a greater coverage of surface area. It also covers your hands far more uniformly than foam does. So that means that this mist gets into every crack and crevice, ensuring that no bacteria survives. And this device would be compatible with all current alcohol solutions and current dispensers, so it's very easy for hospitals to transition. Furthermore, using science, technology, and engineering, we'd make this device as sleek and aerodynamic as possible. And we'd also perfect the diaphragm mechanism that's used to push the mist out. This mechanism is also seen in nebulizers, so it already exists. Furthermore, we're going to be using mathematics to determine the correct amount of dosage for the spray. With this mist, it's very innovative because no other company on the market has actually considered doctors' perspective. Yes, Clorox, Lysol, and Purell all have a monopoly on the industry, but the only reason they're so powerful is because they're the only players there. The reason that hospitals use them is because they're the only option they have. No one else is considering the user's perspective, and that's how we're going to easily penetrate the market. The current market for infection control across the globe is worth about $17 billion, and hand hygiene comprises about $2 billion worth of that, so clearly there's room for growth. But more specifically, when I worked with my partners at WeVenture and at Rollins, we found that within a very conservative estimate of just 500 hospitals in 5 years, we could see a net profit of about $5 million, accounting for all expenses. This is important because there are over 6,000 hospitals within the US. So if we fully expanded to our full potential, our net profit would skyrocket. The impact of the Verma Hygiene Mister is enormous. First, because it's going to be easier to sanitize, more doctors are actually going to comply, and that's going to save thousands of lives across the country. But more importantly, when I found in my independent study, which no other group has done before, I found that there is an extremely strong relationship between patient satisfaction and observed hand washing rates. That's important because with the ACA, it requires that all hospitals meet infection quotas and patient satisfaction quotas. If they don't meet these requirements, they lose out on millions of dollars per year. The WHO tells us that if just 1% more of doctors actually comply, just 2 or 3 more doctors, it will save a hospital $50,000 per year. So if just 2 or 3 more doctors comply, this device completely pays itself off. We have enormous support from within the hospital community. After speaking to Dr. Vincent Chu, who is the Executive Director for Infection Control for the entire Florida hospital system, who is a national award winner and who formerly worked at the CDC, he explained that he endorsed the Verma Hygiene Mister and that he would support its use. That's important because we have the support from a huge public official that will work wonders in our public marketing. But further, after working with WeVenture, with Rollins, with Canvas, and with the Florida Hospital Innovation Lab and Prototype Lab, we found that not only is the Verma Hygiene Mister commercially viable, but it's also technologically feasible. Every single piece of technology that we need already exists, so it's only a matter of months to create this project and make it a reality. The Verma Hygiene Mister has enormous applications. We could start off in hospitals, but quickly expand to nursing homes or extended care facilities. Then we could work to airports, schools, hotels, and restaurants. In fact, there is a global demand for this product, and that's why it's going to be so successful. This is the Verma Hygiene Mister, and I'm Hannah Verma. We have the technology, we have the demand, and we're ready to go. Join me in saving millions of dollars and millions of lives. Thank you.
That was a great presentation, and I love disruptive technologies, and you've identified a big problem, both here and across the world, and you've devised a methodology to attack that problem. And you've also identified adjacent markets, which a lot of entrepreneurs don't do. They get so cubbyholed, and I really applaud you for that. So, from a cost perspective, have you thought about what the cost is going to be to disrupt the already installed units that are everywhere with the new unit, and how you'll be able to make people make that change?
Right, so the implementation costs are obviously going to be a little bit high, because you have to rip out the old dispensers and put in the new ones. But I found that with the enormous benefits, with saving thousands of lives and saving hospitals millions of dollars, that implementation cost is going to be vastly outweighed by the benefits of this device. And because we already have endorsements from huge hospital systems, I think it's going to be very easy to convince them to use it.
You are attacking a massive problem, and I was very surprised to learn that this costs the American healthcare system over $30 billion a year to deal with infections incurred in hospitals. There was a recent Center for Disease Control study that documented the compliance with hand washing, and it was surprisingly low. And they said that if it was attached to the person, there was higher compliance. Have you ever thought of maybe a smart wearable dispenser at all?
Yes, I thought about that, but the most important part of this device is the mist. With foam, it's a part of foam that it's going to be inconvenient because it takes so long to dry. You can't really do mist on a portable level as of now, but that could be a potential for the future.
Great pitch. Seriously, you're an entrepreneur. Get your team together and start working on this. Really, you did your homework and you came prepared, and I like that. You talked about the technology being available, things like nebulizers. What would scare you most? What obstacles would be the most difficult obstacles as you got started?
Okay, so the reason that mist isn't really big in the market right now is because with foam, you can see the doctors actually using it. But I think that could easily be solved if we added a quick drying color to the solution. So it could spray a green color, and you would know it would be dry as soon as it turned clear. I think that is the biggest obstacle we have right now. But another obstacle might be ensuring the mist is effective in killing all bacteria. And I think if we add a little pressure to the device, make sure that it sprays the mist with pressure, we could easily kill off the bacteria. So I think those big concerns could easily be solved.
So again, great presentation, and that last statement you just made, I think to me was one of the most impressive comments that you've made in your whole presentation, was recognizing the barrier to implementation is that the patient can't see the doctor doing this, and so how do we solve that problem? So the idea of adding some kind of colorant into it to address the other part of this, which is the patient's perception and the patient feeling comfortable, that's a tremendous insight. So when you had your discussions with the hospitals, did they give you a sense of, did they give you some next steps and come back and see us, or was there some guidance they gave you?
Yes, definitely. After speaking to Dr. Vincent Shu, he gave me this idea for color, because color, with the chemical chlorhexidine, which is used in surgery, it wasn't effective before because you couldn't see color. But once they added color, surgeons started using it more. So obviously this approach has worked in the past, and I think that's why it's going to be effective in the future.
Great.
I believe that even if I don't win, I definitely want to pursue making it a reality and bringing it to the market, because I think there's such a need for improving sanitation and improving hygiene within hospitals.
Next is Samantha Miranda and Jennifer Reyes from Bakersfield, California. Samantha and Jennifer's invention could open up a whole new means of communication for the hearing impaired.
Good evening. My name is Samantha Miranda.
My name is Jennifer Reyes.
We are from South High School in Bakersfield, California, and today we would like to ask you this. Have you ever thought about how someone with a hearing disability can communicate with someone that doesn't understand any form of sign language? Or how does someone with a hearing disability get their education if they don't have access to their education in sign language? Many of the people who have this disability go through these types of struggles in their everyday lives without much of a solution. Their main option that they have is to learn sign language, which not everyone knows, so they cannot communicate well with a large amount of people. Some solutions in technology have been attempted, but haven't really worked out well for the consumer. We thought of these things and felt like there had to be something done about it.
So we began researching more about hearing disabilities. And according to the Center for Hearing Communication, just a mild hearing loss can cause a child to miss as much as 50% of classroom discussion. And it's been estimated that 30 school children per 1,000 have a hearing loss. Not only that, but only 2% of the deaf population have access to their education in sign language. A disability should not stop a child or anybody from properly getting their education. Knowing that 360 million people worldwide suffer with a hearing loss, we knew that we had to do something about it. So our solution to this problem was our invention.
SJ Vision is a device that can assist someone to understand what is being said to them. It is easy to use, and all they have to do is read what is being said. They're a pair of glasses that would have a microphone and then pick up the words that are being said and then project them onto the lenses. This way, even if they cannot understand what is being said, they'll be able to read it instead. If anybody who did not know how to communicate through sign language and they were in a classroom and the teacher was talking, the words would appear on the glasses.
The glasses are designed to make communicating for people who cannot communicate before possible. They would start off by using specific lenses and frames in order for the projection to work. The charger plug-in for the glasses will be located behind the projector to power the glasses, and after being fully charged, they would last about 6 to 8 hours.
There would also be an app that would be connected to the glasses so the user would be able to control the settings such as brightness, size of the text, how long the text would remain on the lenses, language, and what part of the lenses the words would appear on. When the user first opens the app, they will be asked to select the language, and then from there they can adjust the other settings so they'll feel more comfortable when using our product.
We are also considering to perfect the app to be able to translate sign language to receive the communication from someone with a hearing disability. In the same SJ Vision app, the person would be able to do sign language in front of their camera, which would then be translated into words that would appear on their screen. Object recognition technology similar to what we required for this to work is close to being accomplished by Google. Although our current goal for our product is for people with hearing disabilities, in the future it could also be expanded to the translation of different languages, which could be helpful for people who travel to different countries or for those who just do not speak English, which translates to 60.6 million people in the US.
A product that exists out there now is Google Glass. It's known for its smartphone-like hands-free format that's similar to the iWatch but as glasses. When they were being sold, Google Glass cost over $1,000. What makes our product unique? It's the ability to help the user whenever needed instead of just for the purpose of phone usage like Google Glass does. The range cost for our product would be around $700 to $900, but could also be covered by medical insurance, which is better for the consumer.
With SJ Vision, people with hearing disabilities, whether it be any of the 3 types of hearing loss, would not have to be strictly appointed to go to a school specifically for people with a disability and would be able to interact with the students around them. It's simply having to wear the glasses and read what's being said to them. The opportunity to be able to work with other people around them could even help our consumers get involved in groups they could not do before without the product. Having this creation out there for those who need it could impact their lives greatly and expand the opportunity of communication to those who were previously restricted. SJ Vision, creating a vision for the future.
One of the things that this contest is about making the world a better place by applying technology. And this idea really does feel like that. It feels like it would make the world a better place for people with hearing issues. So I really like that about your idea, and that's really what's powerful in my mind about it. When you talk about creating goggles, it seems like Google, you talked about theirs, and Microsoft has a pair, and others have a pair. Do you ever think about just partnering with somebody who makes the goggles, not worrying about the goggles, and you focus on the software, the smarts of the system?
When we first thought about it, we basically just thought as the glasses, not much as the software, but that's an actual great idea. Thank you for telling us. We have never really thought about actually just partnering with someone, but thank you for that.
I really like that you kind of thought of two-way communications. You let the deaf person also communicate outward. So I think it was great that you kind of went both directions.
So I'm so curious, so what was the inspiration for this? Is this something that's personal to y'all, or?
Well, actually, when we were in school, we began thinking, well, we get the choice of learning a language when others are usually forced upon into learning a language to get better communication with others. And we thought, well, maybe we should make it easier for them instead of just having it just forced on them.
Well, thank you for coming all the way from California. I thought your ideas for translation were really unique and very impressive. And I think you did a wonderful job, and thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
It directly helps people, and it would make a difference in their lives.
Many of the people who go through these struggles are wanting to find a solution other than just depending on a hearing aid. And so I thought that I really had to work hard out there and try my best to do what is possible for them.
Finally is Desiree Brooks from Birmingham, Alabama. Desiree's idea is to create a new platform that will help college students manage their debt and finances.
So good evening, you guys. Hi, how's everyone doing? My name is Desiree Brooks, and I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, and I just have one question for you guys. Is anyone still paying back their student loans? Okay, so does anybody actually have a senior in high school or a junior? Yeah. Okay, well, me and my parents are in the same predicament. Both of my parents are still paying back their student loans. It's been a while, and I'm actually a senior in high school, and I graduate in about 3 months. And I swear, I have been I've filled out 15 applications in the last semester. I've been trying to figure out how I'm gonna pay for school and how I'm gonna make it easier for myself and for my parents also. So I think with this app, I have a little advantage. I have some resolutions for you guys. So my backstory is the experience came from me and my peers, and we all have the same complaints about how are we going to balance everything, like with the advanced placement classes, with the extracurricular activities, and then figuring out, searching the World Wide Web just to find out how we're going to pay for school. So it's been a lot on this. And I think this application is essential because there are actually 40 million Americans who are still paying at least one debt. And 60% of students don't even get financial help from their parents. So that weighs a lot. That's a big problem. And of course, more money, more problems. Tuition is steady climbing, and 7 out of 10 college students feel very stressed out about their finances. And you know, knowing the fact that I have to pay for college is making my head hurt right now, but there are 36% of people who are actually paying through student loans, and I am trying to decrease that percentage. So here is basically a design of my app, and the first idea was to provide millions of scholarships. I'm basically trying to be the Trivago of scholarships and student finances. And then you have jobs, and with these jobs, you can be able to find these locally. Like, say you're at college, and your college is surrounded by restaurants. So from there, you can find a job that's just down the street from your campus. I have helpful tips and pointers for professionalism and how to write essays for college applications and scholarship applications. And then I have the internships, and this is basically only for kids in college who can find internships that complies with their major. And then I have Connect, which is where you can find mentor programs to help you find and figure out where you want to go and what you want to do after college. And then My NS is simply just your personal profile where you can design it how you want to get the best results. And the best way to utilize this app is with starting off as a high school student. You should look at the scholarships and mentor programs first, because those will help you the most as a high school student. And then as you progress to being an undergraduate, you can find local jobs and internships just to put a little money in your pocket and just to help you feel more secure about what you want to major in. And then with graduate students, you can actually find jobs nationwide, or better yet, careers, something that you can actually do after you graduate college. So who's ahead of the game? I've actually found a couple of mentors who have the same mindset as I do with their mentor programs, and they want to help students. They want to help students actually pursue their goals. They want to help students figure out what they want to do. Before I left from Birmingham, I actually met up with the manager from the Birmingham Business Alliance, and she's willing to help me develop my idea, and she's willing to contact people for me in order to help me simplify the process and what I have to do in order to get this idea to life. And then with the Innovation Depot, I'm actually supposed to be meeting up with them when I come back, and they're going to help me figure out the technical difficulties of everything. So all of these websites you see here, they're websites that I have researched on my personal time. Just that goes to show you that none of these, and I mean absolutely none of these, have everything that I have to offer. They may have tips and they may have scholarships, but they don't have internships, mentorships, and just everything in one. Mine is basically just a one-stop shop where you can find everything in one. From that, I thank you for your time, judges. The next step keeps you moving.
Good job. Very good. So let me start off. So I got to say congratulations. So for Leslie and I judged last year, but that this young lady's second time back. So she's a two-time finalist, which is phenomenal. You're just full of good ideas. That's tremendous. So I like what you said. You've solved, I think, addressing a problem here, which is one of the challenges that students have is that there's too much information. How do you sort through all of this? And I like your idea of boiling this down. This is the Trivago of college scholarships, because to me that kind of crystallizes what you're really about. And again, I'm impressed that you're reaching out to organizations and looking for help. What do you think the biggest challenge is going to be as you move to the next phase and start trying to execute this?
I would think the biggest challenge for me is to be able to actually reach out to all these different businesses. I actually still want to get in touch with the websites that I do use for scholarships, like FastWeb and scholarships.com, so they can help me actually develop the most accurate, and I just want all the information that's put out there in the world, I just want them all to be together on my app, because like I've told you before, like I'll find scholarships on my own, and then I go to my counselor and I'm like, where did that come from? Like I've never heard of this. Where are you getting this from? So I just want students to be able to get everything in one.
So I like the fact that you try to solve a personal problem, and you have all that passion from trying to solve that problem, and that's really great. And the whole concept of curating all that information that's out and available on the web in a way that's easy and useful and bring you an end result, I think is something really, really good.
There's definitely a lot of pain around this. My daughter is a senior in high school, so I'm in the same position as you and your parents are. So there's a lot of anxiety, I think, for someone like you trying to figure it all out and sort and Google and search. So I think you're really addressing a key anxiety point for a lot of students that are junior, senior year trying to figure this out. So I think you're hitting on a big pain point.
So I think, to that point, I think you need a parent counseling button. That may be the most popular part of that app.
The parent calming button, yeah.
A personal problem, I think entrepreneurs that solve a problem that affects them personally have a higher chance of success, and I think that's something you're focused on here, and it really would help you if you were to take this to the next step. When you think about finding the right scholarship, that's a part of the problem. Can they fill it out in the app too?
Yeah,
fill out the application?
From their personal profile, it would edit so they could find the most accurate results. So those are the only scholarships that you're going to be eligible for from your personal profile.
Good luck.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
I was excited. I was very excited, but at the same time, I was very nervous because I really wanted the judges to like my idea, and I want them to produce it. I want them to be able to help me.
You're an entrepreneur. Get your team together and start working on this.
When you have a problem and you can think about a solution that's viable, I mean, that's what businesses are made about.
in an entrepreneur, you can just sense a certain bit of passion and determination, and she certainly has that.
I think you're really addressing a key anxiety point for a lot of students that are junior, senior year trying to figure this out.
I'll freely admit to being in aisle 11, then back in 2, and then back in 9, and then back in 4. So this really resonates with me.
We actually have a very special guest to bring on out to the stage. It is the winner from last year's Bright Ideas STEM from Today's Youth. Here from Orlando, Florida, please welcome Ashley Chico. For those who weren't here, tell us what was your bright idea?
My bright idea was called Chico Healthcare Software, and it's an interactive, user-friendly software that will allow patients in any language to fill out the medical registration form easily.
Boy, it's like you've said that once or twice before. It was a fantastic idea and obviously won. I'm gonna have to take one step forward so we're in the light. So you win the competition, and then take us through what happened afterward, the development of the product.
After that, I was able to go into the community and find some amazing mentors, talk at conventions, do things such as talk at We Venture, and go to Latism. And from Latism, I was able to go and speak and present Chico at the White House, which was an amazing opportunity.
Wow. What's going on with the product right now?
So right now, I'm in the Young Entrepreneurship Academy at the Orlando Science Center, and that allows me to form a business plan and put Chico into practice. And by the end of March 30th, an investor panel will happen, and I will have Chico as a registered Floridian business by the end of May.
Wow, fantastic. That's awesome. How old are you?
17.
Well, now that I feel pretty terrible about myself and what I accomplished at 17, Ashley Chico, thanks so much. Great to have you back. Congratulations, all the success. Here to present our awards today, please welcome from Bright House Networks, Kimberly Mackey.
I was sitting in the audience tonight, and no lie, I had to choke back tears because I have seen some of these competitors come up from the local areas, and this whole thing is not about one winner tonight. It is about the process. What's going to be happening is not only do they start the process by entering the competition and our educators working with the students, but when they actually come up through the competition, even from the local competition to the national competition, you can see this vast improvement because they've had to go back, do more research, do more work on their presentation skills. These students were up last night past midnight working on their presentations. It's amazing. It feels good, and I feel like you watch people really blossom.
Ladies and gentlemen, winner of the 2016 National Bright Ideas STEM from Today's Youth, Verma Hygiene Mister. Put your hands together for our winner.